All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Heroes Connect Military Manufacturing event. We are excited here talking with a company who's not just veteran friendly, but veteran ready. They are actively seeking military talent. These events were designed to help the broader military community better understand how the manufacturing and supply chain industries greatly align with their experience and career goals, and also to learn about companies like this we may never have heard of. So welcome again. Let me also introduce myself. My name is Katie Bowerman. I'm a senior program manager with the Manufacturing Institute, and I oversee the virtual Heroes Make America Military Skill Bridge Training Program, as well as these virtual Heroes Connect events. So today we're featuring one of our Heroes Make America sponsor companies, Cargill. This is a leading food manufacturer that has opportunities across the country that you'll learn about. So I'm excited to have you all learn more about this advanced manufacturing company and how they could be part of your next career chapter. So before I go ahead and introduce our first speaker, I briefly want to go over some guidelines. First off, the event is being recorded. You should have gotten that notice that recording has started, or we will be sending this out as part of a recap email. Okay. I do ask that everyone stays muted throughout the presentation just to minimize background noise. But I do encourage you to be an active participant. So we do have the chat feature. If you do have any questions throughout the presentation, pull up that chat box, throw in your questions. We will revisit them during the Q&A session. During the Q&A session, we'll also invite you to come on, unmute, ask those questions live to the speakers here today. So to practice that chat box, pull it up if you're on your phone, if you're on your computer, pull up that chat box. What I want you to do is put in, if you are job searching, where are you job searching? So city and state, region, state in general, put in where you're looking so our presenters can look through that and maybe be part of the Q&A session on those locations. So go ahead, pull up the chat box and do that. While you guys are doing that, I briefly want to highlight the Manufacturing Institute's Heroes Make America Military Skill Bridge program. So we do have a lot of our students on this call, but we have other military affiliated participants, company reps, community partners from across the country joining us today to learn about this company. So for those of you who may not know what Heroes Make America is, we are a DoD-approved skill bridge training for transitioning service members, veterans, and military spouses. So we do certification trainings, you can see them here on the slide, that go towards the manufacturing and supply chain industries. So our students learn a variety of topics to include things like quality practices, safety practices, technical trainings like electrical, mechanic, pneumatic training, and then we've also got a logistics training. So what they're earning depends on the location that they are training with. You can see here that we have the programs and the upcoming cohort dates, as well as our program managers. We're going to drop in our program manager contact information into the chat so that you can connect with us if you do have any questions or are interested in the Heroes program. But without further ado, let's move on to the main feature. I'm going to first introduce Rick Knightley. So Rick Knightley is a soybean oil. Oh man, Rick, you're going to have to say your title for Cargill. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to you. So off to you, Rick.
Thanks, Katie. No, I don't trade soil. I do trade soybean oil on behalf of Cargill. But no, thank you very much. First of all, I just want to say welcome to everybody that joined this call. We are very grateful to have the opportunity to speak to you all today, and really, thankful for your interest in learning more about Cargill. We're proud sponsors of Heroes Make America. We've had a lot of success stories, over the past year plus 2 years, partnering with Heroes Make America and recruiting great talent into the organization. So we're very excited to be able to address what we believe is an extremely strong group of veteran talent, and hopefully make some connections that can clear a path for you to help Cargill and join Cargill. I'm going to give you a very brief overview. If you could go to the next slide, Katie, please. So, first myself, yeah, I trade soybean oil here in our Minneapolis office. This is actually our corporate headquarters trading floor that you might be able to see behind me. So I'm not specifically involved in operations or manufacturing, but I am on the board of Cargill's Veterans of Military Support Network, and I'm involved in leading a focus area around attracting and hiring veteran talent into Cargill. I'm joined by a handful of excellent veteran talent within Cargill. You will have the opportunity to ask a lot of questions to these folks later in the presentation. We're going to have a panel, but just to briefly introduce, we have Adam, who's in plant operations in Lafayette, Indiana. We have Sheila. This is a name and face that I want you all to remember and make sure that you have her information jotted down. You'll have an opportunity to hear more from Sheila, but she is our point of contact, our lead point of contact that you'll be accessing as you want to learn more about Cargill. Regina and Kelly and Kenny from Wichita, and Shad, who we're really excited to have Shad on the call. Shad is a fellow Heroes of Make America veteran that joined Cargill and has a great story to tell that hopefully you all enjoy and relate to. Next slide, please. Yeah, we're going to start with a short video that hopefully gives a bit of an introduction to what Cargill is, and then we'll move on in the presentation. But go ahead and play the video if you could. Awesome, thank you. Before I hand it over to Sheila, I just want to say I remember being in a similar situation about 13 years ago. I was sitting at business school, and Cargill, this company I had never heard of in my entire life, came and was presenting to us about all the different things that they do. And I remember just sitting there floored by how did I not know what this company was? You know, they're in 70 countries. They have over 150,000 employees. They're they have ingredients, or they're touching food in pretty much everything I've ever eaten in my entire life. How did I not know what they were? And I was super excited to join the company and have been with them ever since. So I think that's, an interesting video. We'll talk more about the company a bit, but we definitely want to, make sure we have a lot of time for Q&A at the end. So I'm going to hand it over to Sheila, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the connections we've made with Heroes Make America talent over the past couple of years. Sheila?
Thanks, Rick. So I just wanted to share some photos of some of our hires from Heroes Make America since we got re-engaged in the program in June of 2021. And thanks to Rick and other folks on the VMSN who helped us get the sponsorship, allowing us to do this work. As you look at some of the titles and some of the faces and some of the locations of these people, you'll see they're from everywhere from California to Georgia, from Minnesota to Texas, and everywhere in between, and different types of roles, different levels of roles. So we're such a large global company that there's probably something in your area that you're planning on going into that you can find. If you go to the next slide, here's some of our most recent hires. And I know that some of the Heroes Make America program managers recognize some of these Heroes Make America alums. So I'm hoping to meet with each of you and find out how we can add your name and face to this list. So I'll hand it back over to Rick, and Rick's going to tell you more about Cargill.
Thanks, Sheila. It really all starts with Cargill. You'll hear about our values, but really our purpose and our vision is the backbone for what we do as a company. And our purpose at Cargill is to nourish the world in a safe, responsible, and sustainable way. And I know when I think about my military experience and, why did I join the military, and what are some of the things I appreciated most and helped connect me with Cargill were around having, what I thought was a higher purpose, and then also having aligned values. So I certainly found, the tangible value of being a food company and feeding the world as something that attracted me. Can you move on to the next slide, please? And our vision is to be the most trusted partner in food, agriculture, and nutrition. I can certainly speak to this from my experience as a trader and commodity merchant. We're moving a lot of stuff all around the world. We have a lot of agreements with customers. Some of those agreements are agreed to on the phone or in email or in a text chat, and we always do what we say. Our word is our bond at Cargill, and that is part of what helps us be, aspire towards this vision of being the most trusted partner in Cargill, or in food, agriculture, and nutrition. And then behind that is all the food safety and quality that happens in our operations facilities around the world, in our handling facilities. And we trust our operations teams that we're going to deliver high quality, in spec food against what our customers are expecting, and it's that kind of commitment to that allows us to be the most trusted partner in the world, and I'm really proud of that. Next slide, please. So you saw a little bit of this in the video. Huge company, over 150,000 employees. We're in 70 countries around the world. We have huge operations in the United States. And we've been around for over 150 years. And companies don't last for over 150 years if they're not doing things the right way. And so again, it aligns with our vision and our purpose and what you'll hear from Adam around our values. But this is core to why Cargill is here today, and why a lot of us veterans are attracted to Cargill and stay with the company for a long period of time. Next slide, please. So this is a pretty complicated slide. It's pretty busy. I'll speak to it relatively quickly. But at a high level, we are basically touching food or agricultural commodities from the farm, or the farm gate, as we like to say, all the way to the fork or hitting your plate. So our businesses originate soybeans, corn, wheat from farmers. We process, we move this soybean, corn, wheat, etc., into various markets around the world. We either process it into finished goods like soybean oil, which lands on a shelf at a retail outlet, and after it's refined, and you and I are consumers of that. Or we process ingredients that are used to feed animals, which those animals grow and then are processed, and we put beef and on the grocery store as well. We move supplies all around the world, from areas of surplus to areas of deficit, and that's the value that we're generating and creating. Pretty much everything you eat has an ingredient that has been touched by Cargill at some point around the supply chain. And so if you just think about the scale of operations and logistics that goes into executing these global supply chains, it's kind of mind-blowing. And that's why we need the talent like yourselves in order to execute against this. Next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Adam, who's going to talk about Cargill's values and what that means to him. But I really ask that you pay attention to this part, because this is one of the key things that attracted me to Cargill. So thank you for your time and your interest in Cargill, and I'll hand it over to Adam.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, like Rick said, I had never heard of Cargill when I started almost 18 years ago. But looking at the values, put people first. I had one of our leadership say a while back that what business are we in? We're in the people business. And that's never been more true today, as Cargill's investing in people and really making sure that, we have a good career path. We're engaged. The job is what folks want it to be. And again, there's always jobs out there. So, when I look at myself and I reflect on, my number one value is family. That aligns very, very well with Cargill, and the number one value, putting people first. Do the right thing. You'll see in the next slide, our guiding principles, obeying the law, doing the right thing is just, a moral obligation. Even when folks aren't looking, Cargill is doing the right thing. Just do the right thing at all times, whether that's obeying the law or that's just when folks aren't looking, you're doing the right thing. And then reach higher is the last one before we move to the guiding principles here. And, Cargill's been in business 150 years. How do you stay in business for another 150 years? It's really having that passion for success, that motivation, wanting to reach higher and continue raising the bar and thriving and feeding the world. So as you look at our guiding principles, a lot of them line with the values. We talked about doing the right thing. Number one, obey the law. We also conduct our business with integrity. We keep honest and accurate records. So again, just doing the right thing. Honor our business obligations. Our handshake is our bond. We've heard that one before. We treat people with dignity and respect. Protect Cargill's information, assets, and interests. And we want to be a responsible global citizen. So again, when you look at the three main values, how they align with the guiding principle, it all intertwines. And again, like Rick said, it's a big reason why, when I look at my personal values to the company's values, they align very well. And that's why I chose Cargill. So I'll hand it over to Kenny, if we want to go to the next slide.
Hey, everybody. My name is Kenny Doan. So I, here at Cargill, here in Wichita, Kansas, I co-chair with Regina Smith, which you'll be talking to her very shortly. We co-chair the Cargill's Veteran Military Support Network here in Wichita, Kansas. And what we do here is we kind of give back to all our supports when it comes to the military or spouse on the spouse side. This place helped me out a lot. When I first came to Cargill, same thing. I had no clue, but the VMSN pulled me in and kind of gave me a home. I was a military looking around, and this place is awesome. We do great events. We do charitable events. This past year, we raised a couple $1,000s and gave it back to Midwest Battle Buddies, which is a nonprofit organization that gets dogs to veterans who have PTSD. And this year, we have a whole bunch of social events that we're going to get together and get to know one of each other. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Regina Smith.
All right, so what you see on the screen right now is Cargill is one of the few companies that have committed to veterans in a way that should you go into reserve after active duty, we help cover the gap. I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly, Sheila, so make sure you correct me if I'm throwing this out there incorrectly. So we kind of help pay that. You keep your paycheck while you're on reserve, right? You go out and you're serving our country on active reserve duty, you still get your Cargill paycheck. That's a commitment that Cargill has made to our veterans. I'm currently located. Yep, go ahead, Sheila.
So it's called a pay differential. So let's say that if
go.
you're in the Guard or Reserve and you get activated, maybe your Cargill salary is 75,000, but your deployed pay is 50,000. We pay the difference to keep you whole while you're gone. So we're not required to do that by law, but something extra that we do because we don't want you to have to take a pay cut for the privilege of being activated. So we take care of our Guard and Reservist.
That's cool.
So just outside of the benefits of that is, we're working on growing our veterans network within Cargill. That's something that Kenny and I focus heavily on. We have a gentleman down in Texas that actually just got recognized by Protein during our awards in North America for connecting veterans, for recognizing veterans and helping retain them. Sheila has done an excellent job of, notifying us when we have a new hire through HMA, and you get kind of a welcoming committee that comes on board. It is a quiet community. Veterans tend to be fairly quiet, fairly reserved when they hit the civilian side, but we also understand how important community and connection is. So we're trying to become more vocal, more recognized, and more out in the open by staying connected with each other and helping develop that talent and helping with that transition. So that's our goal. I think we have another slide on this as well. Yep. So we've had Sheila since 2014. We've loved working with her. She sent us on a couple recruiting events. She's recruiting us for this. We are the Yellow Ribbon company that we had just talked about. You can see our recognition below, and a lot of outreach into our community as well. And I think this goes back over to Sheila, correct?
Yes, thanks, Regina.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next slide. So I'm going to talk about career opportunities real briefly here. So if you look at this slide, you'll see like some of the job families that we have. So Cargill is so large, it's sort of like the DoD where there's like multiple things that you can do that maybe you never thought about. Like we have a law department and we have, sales and marketing and supply chain logistics and plant operations, and you name it, we have it. And so it's just, I try to take each soldier or military person one-on-one to see what are their interests and what are their goals, and then how can we help them meet it. So next slide, please. So a couple of really important opportunities that I wanted to share with you. This just happened about a year ago. Actually, it was December of 2021, so it's about a year old. Operations Management Associate in Grain and Protein. I'm going to talk about grain first. So these used to be for college graduates. So you'd have somebody coming out of college. They don't know too much about plant operations, which obviously we don't either as a military veteran, but they're going to train you up. Well, at the end of 2021, during the pandemic, we realized we weren't getting enough college students in there. And so one of the guys that runs this program said, well, how come we're not looking at veterans? Because they'd be great at this, because an operations management associate is basically like an NCO. They're going to lead a team of people. They're going to make sure they're managing the people. Are they being safe? Are they using the equipment properly? Or are they wearing their PPE? And is the production going smoothly today? What's going on? Is there any mechanical breakdowns, or is there some supply chain issues? And they're just trying to manage people and manage processes. So this role is open, this training role, it's open to E4s and above. So you don't have to have a college degree anymore. So if you're an E4 and above, you can qualify. You're going to go through a 12 to 18 month training program to get you trained up. So you're going to be able to learn while you're doing it. So it's on the job, and there's also some training modules you'll do. The locations are listed there. You'll see that there's two phases. First, you're going to go to one of these locations to train. And then you're going to go to a second location as your permanent placement, or think of that as like your first duty station. You don't have to stay there forever, but that's where they're going to put you to actually do the job as a production supervisor. So there's much more locations than what's on that list for the future locations, your second location, but the locations listed there are just for the training. And what do they do? Is I put a picture of there of a grain elevator. Some of them are really big. Well, some of the biggest grain elevators in the US are in Kansas. But you're basically, think of a grain elevator as like a bank where farmers store their grain. So we store their grain for them. We keep it the right temperature. We keep it safe and, free from rodents or whatever destroying the grain. And then when the farmer's ready to sell the grain, then we sell it. Maybe we'll put it on trains, or put it on barges, or put it on trucks and send it to its next destination. So that's what you'd be managing, is working in one of those facilities, taking the grain in and putting the grain out. And another note on the right-hand side there, it says apply now. When you apply, you can apply now, you can interview now, even if you're not going to be available till May or June. We can hire you, make the offer, get you settled, and then you could say, okay, I'm not gonna be able to get to that location until June 1st or May 15th. We're totally flexible about this, because we don't want all these people to start at the same day at the same place. And so we kind of like them to be spaced out a little bit. So, but it is kind of a first come, first serve. So if, Reserve Louisiana gets filled up, then that's going to be off the list. So don't waste time. Go ahead and apply for these if you're interested. And let's go to the next one. So this is the same thing, but it's for protein. You'll see there's more locations because protein in Cargill is very big. We do everything from eggs to beef to turkey to hamburger patties, you name it, pepperoni,
Chicken.
we make it. Go ahead, Regina, do you want to add something?
Yeah, so we do everything from crumbles that go on your pizza, what our kids are eating at lunch, soups that you see in the food service industry, proteins in all of it.
Yep. And so this list, like I said, these are your training locations, and each plant is different. So if you have any interest in like, oh, what do they do at Fresno? I can look it up and tell you. Again, this is a two-phase process. So you'll go to the first location for training, and then you go to the second location for permanent placement. Now, Shad Brown is on our call, who's a Heroes America alum. He came in as an operations management associate in protein. So we're looking forward. He'll be able to tell you more about that when we get to the Q&A. And again, this one, E4 and above, apply right away if you're interested. And by the way, there's a job ID number. Take a picture of that or write it down, because that's also important for you and I to talk about. And next slide. And this is the third one, the Operations Reliability Associate. This one just came online a couple weeks ago. And this is a little bit different. This one, it's permanent placement. You're not going to have to go through a two-phase location process. you're going to get hired at one of these locations and you're going to stay there, stay there for as long as you want. Eventually you could move. They're training you to be a reliability professional. And what does that mean? You're not, it's a maintenance and reliability function, but you're not a wrench turner. You're not fixing the equipment, and you're not the maintenance supervisor. You're kind of the person that like solves the problems and like more from an engineering standpoint of like making sure the equipment's running efficiently and smoothly. But Adam Hudson works at one of our plants in Lafayette, which is one of the hiring locations here. So Adam, tell me what your perspective is of a operations reliability associate.
You you said it pretty well, Sheila. But yeah, it's not a wrench turner. Like you said, across the business, kind of two reasons for this position is one, I think as a lot of companies have seen, just staffing shortages. In the maintenance reliability fields across the corporation, we're shorthanded. We don't have that good pool to develop into those next roles. We've also seen some downtimes at our locations that's definitely hindered production. And I think, like you said, a big focus of this role is to digging into the problems and working with the team and the different functions to drive out those problems and to see more uptime, if you would, in the operations.
Right. So if you were in the military and you were working in the mechanical fields in aviation or in vehicles or whatever it might be, this is the kind of role, if you were one of those people that was just really good at finding those root causes, like what's causing this ongoing problem and solving it, if you like to like dig in, this is the kind of role that you would be interested in. Okay, next slide. And finally, this is my little intro page. So take a picture of this page or write it down. You have my email there at Sheila_Jessen@Cargill.com. Also, to schedule time with me. So what I like to do is start a networking call with you guys to just do like a 30-minute call so I can learn about what your interests are, what your geographic preferences are, what your salary expectations are. And then we can go and look at the website together and see what jobs interest you and what you're going to apply for. As you're scheduling that time with me, make sure it's a time where you can probably be, sitting somewhere quiet in front of a computer so we can look at that together. Have some questions, maybe even go to the website in advance and say, I found these 3 jobs I'm interested in. And then, stay in contact with me in the future. You can schedule more time when you have more questions or have interviews coming up. I do interview prep. So I'm going to be your, like I said earlier, your main point of contact as you're applying for jobs at Cargill. All right, next slide. So now we're going to head into the Q&A question. So we're going to Q&A panel. So we're going to just go ahead and reintroduce ourselves so you guys can get a little bit more background on each of us. So Adam, I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah, I'll do a quick couple-minute introduction here and we'll get through this so we can get to the questions. But I'm Adam Hudson, father of 2. I have a 12-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. I've been married, it'll be 14 years this year, which I should really get that number down before my anniversary comes around. But been with Cargill almost 18 years. So I kind of took a different path. I think Sheila has mentioned it before, not all paths is a college degree. When I got out of high school, I joined the military in high school. Did a tour in Iraq, came home, started building houses, and my uncle worked for Cargill, and he said, "Why not Cargill?" And I said, "What is that?" So I learned a little bit more about Cargill. Got on as an elevator operator. I worked the swing shift for about 3.5 years. Became a prep operator, became a relief operator, got qualified in all the different departments here in Lafayette. For about 7.5 years, I was working the swing shift as an hourly operator, and I loved the operations. I've always liked leading people, and I said, what else? What else could be out there? So took an opportunity as a production supervisor for about 1.5 years here in Lafayette, and then I transferred out to Wichita, Kansas, where we were building a new crush plant, a new extraction plant out there. So got to help operate the old plant and be part of the new build. Was out in Wichita for about 4 years and did get the crush superintendent position as we started up the new plant. Wanted to get a little closer to home for family reasons, so moved to Bloomington, Illinois for about 1 year as the crush superintendent. And then when the plant manager here in Lafayette retired in 2019, did a full circle and brought me back to Lafayette as a plant manager. So again, been with Cargill about 18 years. I don't have any college education. Just something I like to reiterate because the drive, the passion for success, the leadership, to me, and you can kind of see my career path is just as important as the function or the job you're going to be doing. I I can teach anybody to crush soybeans. It's harder to teach a lot of those leadership qualities that a lot of you possess. So I will turn it over to Regina.
So hello, my name is Regina Smith. I'm a project manager in our protein business unit. I've been with Cargill for almost 5 years. May will be my 5th year anniversary. Single parent of 1. Since being at Cargill, I've completed my MBA, become a certified Scrum Master, and I am getting ready to test for my project management professional certification. And I point this out because I have a very supportive, and since I've been at Cargill, have had very, very supportive leadership that is willing to help develop me. So where Adam took a very leadership role, I'm a books person. I learn really fast and very quickly with reading books. So this is a very good highlighting situation of, 2 different people, 2 different types of learning situations, very upward trajectory for both of us, right? So protein, what I do, I take a lot of the stuff that you eat. I work with food scientists, I work with engineers, environmental health and safety, FSQR, from the research and development phase of a product to commercialization. So that's my job. That's what I do as a project manager in protein. So Sheila, for your introduction, I guess.
Thanks, Regina. So
Mhm.
I'm an Air Force veteran. I joined right out of high school, like Adam. Was a Russian linguist originally in the active duty. And then I took a 10-year break. I got out of the military and just kind of bounced around, never really found my niche. And then I missed it. So I went back in. I joined the Army Guard for a couple of years as a recruiter. Loved recruiting, wasn't so sure about the Army culture coming from the Air Force. And so then 2 years later, I joined the Air National Guard as a recruiter. And then I retired out as an E7 Master Sergeant as a recruiting supervisor in 2012. I joined Cargill in 2014. So between 2012 and 2014, it wasn't a smooth ride. It was a little bit of a bumpy road trying to find my next journey, right? But when it came to Cargill, I just was like, I love the fact that our mission is to feed the world. It's like another way to serve people. And then the fact that we're, it's talked about our values. I think that's really important to me too, is that it's a company that has high integrity. So I work in talent acquisition. I work side by side with the recruiters, and my focus is strictly on military and veteran talent. So I'm going to be your advocate and your cheerleader as you're going through the hiring process. I'm in Minneapolis, by the way. Yeah, I'll hand it over to Kenny.
Hey everybody, my name is Kenny Doan. I am a U.S. veteran, U.S. Army veteran. I served 8 years, so I did 1 full contract. I started off active duty. I joined right after high school. I did 2 tours, came back home, and went over to the reserves to finish my last 3. And that transition when I didn't know what I was going to do. And I had a buddy who worked here at Cargill. It kind of opened the doors for me here. Walking in, I still had no clue what Cargill did. Come to find out, it gave me a way better purpose, figuring out that there's so many ways that we just touch each and every single day. We just do so much for the world, and it just gave me a drive and a purpose to stay here. I love this place. This place is just has me keep climbing ladders out here, and I love it. Every day it's a challenge here, but it's something new, and I like learning, and it just keeps that drive going forward. And then that's it about me. I'm gonna pass it over to Chad.
Hello, everybody. My name's Shad Brown. I am kind of like Matt and Rick was. I didn't know anything about Cargill whatsoever, which surprised me. I should have. But I found out a lot about it in a very short amount of time. But I did Marine Corps, and then I did Army. So I had about 24 years of military experience, and a lot of it was leadership. And then when I got out, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. There was a lot of opportunities, a lot of jobs. But the reason I kind of bounced towards Cargill was like we had talked about. It was the way they see things, and it kind of fell in line with the military, with the values, the ethics. And then where I work right now, it kind of happened quickly. Became an operation manager, and then a position opened up, and I didn't think I would have a chance in a million years to get in a position, because there was other people, like 22 people applied for it. And I went in there, I got the position. So I'm a production supervisor for ground turkey, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. there's probably about 17 different countries of people that I work with, but some of the hardest working people, some of the values, the ethics that they share, and you're going to have your your differences just like you do anywhere else, but it's a team and they all care about what they're doing, and the common goal of helping the people in the world is something that drives me and drives a lot of the employees that I work with. But it's a great company, and Sheila, you were awesome, and thank you for helping me with everything and all the hiccups and headaches that I had. And when you talked about like they will put you on a placement and wait, they did that with me. You can get hired on and then you can wait, something happens a year later. But if you're interested, I would do it early. And if there's something happens, whether it's personal or professional, and you have to put it on hold, that's fine. I'm living proof of that. But thank you for your time. And like I said, I love it. And I enjoy every day when I go. Thank you.
Thanks, Shad. So Katie, we're ready for some questions.
Sure, yeah, let's do that. I have a couple I've already jotted down, so I'll kick it off while I have some folks. If you want to ask a question, remember, pull up the chat box, throw it in the chat box if you want to do it that way. Or what you can do, there's a reaction on your control panel. There's a reaction button and there's a raise hand feature. So if you want to come on live, ask that question, use the raise hand feature. Or if you don't want to do that, throw it in the chat box. But I'll start off. I want to dig into a little bit more about what you guys are doing in your positions, because as you know, a lot of folks on the call may not know manufacturing, right? So we're learning different positions that are in the companies. So Shad, I'm going to bring it to you first since you had just gone. Do you mind talking a little bit more about your roles and responsibilities as a production supervisor? So types of things that you do and are responsible for?
No, not at all. I roughly have about 35 personnel, and we have the different shifts. So I do the second shift. And, daily, like we have our customers, like when you say customers, mean like Food Lion, the stores, Walmart. And every day we just try and give them the best product possible. And then like I said, there's the different people that I work with. And then we have like our grinding people that they have to grind everything in order for it to be something to where we can ship it down the line to the customer and put it in the trucks and, store it and make sure they get a good quality product. So I would say the most challenging thing is when and it's been a short amount of time, and what I've learned, I've had good people that showed me stuff, but also if you're a self-starter and you're motivated and stuff, it helps out a lot. So if you do like learning like I do, where I can't really learn with the books and stuff, it's more like hands-on and stuff, it works for me. And I just got an understanding of how the machinery works and how everything is ran. Kind of like, if you look at grain versus poultry, it all, once you understand the production part of it, everything else is pretty easy. To me, it was. But I don't know. I think the hardest challenge is when you come up with the problems and you try and find the ways of fixing them to make them better. It's everybody works towards that common goal, but you do have the problems. It's just that same thing like the military. And that's why I think it's good for a lot of people in the military is problem solving and coming up with ideas to make things better. But overall, I just basically have the ground meat and we package it and run it down the lines and just try and give the customers the best products possible every day.
So I appreciate that, Shad. Let's go to a live question, then I'll come back and ask Kenny a question. Rodney, what do you have for us?
Hey, thank you for answering the question. I do have a question. Since you seem like you have a very robust veteran service member outreach to bring in individuals to the company. Other than working with Hire Heroes USA, the correction is Heroes Make America, where else are you looking to bring other veterans and services members into your company?
So are you asking me like what other resources are we using for hiring veterans?
Yes, and what other places are you looking for them, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so I'm a team of one, and so Heroes Make America does keep me pretty busy, but I also try to have a multifaceted approach. So we do job fairs when we have an opportunity to do that. I don't have a travel budget when the job fairs come to Minneapolis. I do go to the veteran job fairs here. I use LinkedIn a lot, so I'm sure you guys are learning about LinkedIn in your class. LinkedIn profiles are important because I'm out there searching. If I'm trying to fill a position in Lake Odessa, Michigan, I'm going to go and look for veterans that live in that area and then reach out to them. So when recruiters reach out to you on LinkedIn, definitely answer them. And then we have worked with hiring our heroes. They used to go and do a virtual or a career fair around the country, and they've done some virtual ones. So like I said, we do have a multifaceted approach to our outreach.
Awesome. Thanks, Sheila. And I think even just the slides of how many of our programs specifically, I mean, that's just a smidge of the amount of veterans that work at Cargill. So from my understanding, there's a strong presence of veterans across the country or company. Yeah, great question. Let's see. I'm going to throw a question over to Kenny. Kenny, as an inventory planner, can you talk more about, what do you do? And then also question, did you do logistics in the Army? Was that your background in the military, and how do those tie?
Yeah, so I completely realized I left that out in my intro, guys. So I get really nervous when I talk in front of a group of people, whether it's either virtual or just live. So just borrow with me. So in my inventory planning life, what I do is I manage our Milwaukee, Wisconsin plant for our case ready and grinds. So I manage all the in and outbounds that warehouse is producing, and that warehouse is not technically under Cargill. They are their own 3PL, and we work side by side with them. And then in that warehouse, we deal with our bigger customers like Costco, Walmart, Kroger's, and all these individuals. What I did do in the military, I started off in the combat realm, and then when I came over, I transitioned into logistics, and that did help me a lot with tying in and writing my resume. And what I will advise everybody is, it doesn't matter what you do in your day-to-day life in the military. It's about writing that resume and how you correlate what you do each and every single day into that piece of paper. And that's what helps you out in the long run. And that's what helps, because everybody out here has leadership skills, time management. It's just how you write that into resume. And that took me a little while to sit there. And I had a mentor who walked me through the process to spiffing up everything and made it real nice.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that, Kenny. And I love it because there's a variety of positions just within our panel today. So when folks think, I can only go into production, not true. I mean, the variety of positions just on this panel alone shows that there's somewhere for everyone, especially in a large company like this. So love it. I'm going to go to a couple questions in the chat box. Sheila, I'm going to direct these towards you because two of them are regarding like positions and things like that. So one, can you speak to international opportunities? So what does that look like? Are those available for folks if they're US right now but want to go abroad? And then can you also talk about if there are remote opportunities for folks?
Yeah, good question. So let's start with international. So international, if you have the right to work in another country, so maybe you have dual citizenship, and I've been talking to some soldiers that do. I talked to one recently that was from Guatemala, and he planned on moving back to Guatemala, and when he got out, to be closer to his family. We have operations in that country, and so if he was still a citizen, he could get hired by Cargill there. But if you were like, hey, I really like Germany, I want to go get hired in Germany, we're not going to hire you off the street in the US to send you to be a production supervisor in Germany, because number one, you probably don't have the language skills. Number two, there's enough people in Germany that have those skills that are going to hire somebody local instead of sending somebody overseas. So definitely in your career down the road, there could be opportunities for you to travel or to get reassigned overseas. If you became like Adam is a plant manager, maybe he in the future there'll be a soybean plant in China, and they're going to say, hey, Adam, go over there and help us run that plant or get it started up. There's chances for us to go. Yeah, there you go. There's chances for us to move around later on, but not usually right off the street unless you have that right to work someplace else. The second question was about remote. We do have remote jobs. I follow all this stuff in the news and on LinkedIn, and they talked about during the pandemic, so many people were remote. Is that the new future? But now in the news, they're kind of saying the remote jobs are drying up. We still have some. So if you go on our website to the careers page and you type in the keyword remote and then type in location United States, hit go, and you'll see there's probably like 50 or 60 remote jobs around the country. Sometimes they're remote, but they want you to live in a certain region or near a certain plant or something. So it's kind of varied. So I think the future, the verdict is still out on like what that's going to look like in the future, but certainly we do have jobs that can be remote.
And Sheila, I know there's more questions coming in from the Fort Bragg classroom. They're under Mr. David. One of them, project management is usually a common skill acquired within with military experience. What is your opinion for a service member that has a skill but not necessarily the PMP certification?
So I can say from my experience when I started at Cargill, I was in strategic sourcing doing project management. My title was not project manager like it is now. I used a really well written resume. I didn't facilitate, I managed, right? Verbs matter on your resume, like Kenny was saying. To move into my role now within Protein as a full-time project manager. So Cargill is very heavy into experience over certifications, and for most hiring managers, that's the key. Is for most hiring managers. I am currently seeking my PMP because I want it for my professional development versus it being a requirement for my job. So hopefully that answered your question.
I'll just add on to that. A lot of times a role might involve project management, but project management is not in the title. So I bet even Adam, Adam probably does some project management as a plant manager, even though that's not his title. And so,
right. So
be open-minded to different types of roles, because you can use those skill sets inside that job.
Yeah, so when I actually moved over into this role, my title was a portfolio project lead. Does not ring like, say, project manager at all. And it happened to be, I was just talking to a coworker of mine and they're like, oh no, they're actually project managers. So on our website, if you search for project manager as a keyword in the job description or just in the job title, some of the titles that come up may be like, that's not really a project manager title, but the project manager work is in it. So.
Thank you all for that. And I did see a couple questions in there regarding project management in the chat box. I also saw a question regarding some specific locations and what are being done at those specific locations. Adam, I think you answered both. If you don't mind speaking to, maybe it was Kenny that answered the second one, but do you mind speaking to what type of plant is in North Carolina and what type of plant is in Temple, Texas? Just so, because I know we have a lot of folks in those two areas. So what types of things are being done there?
Yeah, I can speak to the Fayetteville, North Carolina, because that's actually in the business that I'm a part of. So that's a grain and oilseeds facility right there in Fayetteville, North Carolina. They do the same thing we do here in Lafayette, Indiana, and some. Here in Indiana, we take soybeans, we crush the soybeans, we extract the oil and crush the soybeans. So then we have crude oil that gets further refined at our Sydney, Ohio refinery. And then our soybean meal goes out for animal feed consumption. So your Purdue Farms, Tyson Foods, Pilgrim Pride, and some of our bigger customers, Nestle. Same thing in Fayetteville, North Carolina. They are a bigger crush plant. They are like a fortress site. So they have a shared refinery at their site there in Fayetteville. It's a decent sized crushing facility. So anything from a lot of the jobs we've been talking about: maintenance, reliability, operations, accounting, project management, engineering. There's a lot of different functions that would be at that job.
And then I can take the one about Temple. So I actually, the Temple area, Temple, Texas, there's 3 plants in a little triangle. There's Temple, Round Rock, and Waco. They're all like, you could live in one of them, work at all 3 of them, or any 3 of them. Temple is actually an animal nutrition and health plant. So they make animal feed. So think about feed for cattle or horses down there in Texas. The Round Rock and Waco plants are protein, and Kenny and Regina probably know more about that, what they do in Round Rock and Waco, but I believe it's like hamburger patties and cooked meats that are you're going to find in the freezer section of the grocery store. So Kenny or Regina, you have anything to add about Waco or Round Rock?
Yeah, so I believe both of those plants are our continuous cook lines, which if you're very curious, you can actually YouTube that and see kind of the production line on it. You'll fall in a rabbit hole if you're interested. But no, we do hamburger patties out of Round Rock and Waco. Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Kenny, do you have anything to add? Because I know you said that you did the transportation planning for those.
So I prior to my job in protein, I was in animal feed. So I was managing transportation for one of the 5 plants down in the Texas region, and Temple, Texas is one of my plants down there. And like Sheila said, yeah, they produce animal feed. So they're just that they get pretty busy in the wintertime, and then they kind of slow down in the summertime.
Gotcha. Thank you. And I love that you have that logistics perspective, because I know we always have logisticians on the line and they're like, how do I fit in? So I love that perspective. I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. We still have about 8 minutes, but I love that several of you start your introduction with your family, right? Adam, you talk about your family, your spouse. Regina, you talked about your family. And you don't see that a lot with the companies, right? And bringing that forward. And so what I've learned about Cargill is that family balance that is offered. So Adam, if you want to start, do you want to talk about that work-life balance and how the company is supportive in that, and just your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. That's always a tough one for me, as I've, became a plant manager, and, we're a 365, 24/7 operation. But again, been married to my wife for 14 years. Cargill is what she's known. My schedule works for me, but a huge supporter, not just locally, but the Cargill in general of work-life balance. I go back to my previous statement of we're in the people business. We really do believe in putting people first and being yourselves, bringing your whole self to work. And you can't do that by working 70-hour weeks. You just can't. You've got to have time to spend at home with your loved ones, your friends, your families, time to, wind down, to bring your whole self to work, to be able to put in that, have that passion for success and see the company succeed. So again, that's my number one value is family. That's why I'm able to do what I do here at Cargill. And I think, I kind of biased because, Cargill has been the one company I've really worked for 18 years, but that's what's kept me around. I love the company, love, feeding the world, but it really is the people and putting people first is what's kept me with Cargill for 18 years.
I love it. Anyone else have anything to add in regards to how they feel supported by Cargill in that family life balance?
Shad, do you want to add anything there about what's been your experience since you're relatively new?
Yeah, I was just getting ready to pop on there. Thank you. I'm just totally amazed at like the support I got, and it's not just from general manager and plant manager, but it was from the people. I mean, there was, like I said, we probably represent 40 countries just in our plant alone in Dayton, Virginia, and everything they do related towards like birthdays, anniversaries. I mean, it's noticed, and then they have a little thing where they recognize people. And I just think that these little things where people go in there, and we work a lot of hours, and, a lot of people like to and some don't, but the simple things of like greeting everybody every day and saying hi, I mean, even in the military, you think you did that, but I don't even think it was a comparison. It's a lot better with Cargill as far as like truly saying hi, how you doing today? How was your one day off, or how was your 2 days off? If or how was your vacation, or what's going on? They truly mean it when they say it. And for me personally, everything everything I've asked for, everything that I've had an issue with, whether I could figure it out myself or not, there's always been somebody to go to that could give you the answers that you needed. Maybe not 100%, but at least set you in the right direction. And these were other reasons where, when you think about like, where else can you work for a company where you're going to get that, where you're going to get the, let me stop what I'm doing, let me help you. And I'm talking general managers, plant managers, area managers. They stop, they go, what do you need? Not the deep sigh or the rolling of the eyes. They sincerely stop and want to help you. And these are things I look at. These are things I notice. So me as a leader, I've always been that way, and the military helped me, but I brought that with Cargill. And I'm trying to help the departments that I work in, and this won't be the only one. I'm sure I'll have more, to where I can have everybody to where they think like team, and they realize that we are there to help them, and that goes for me too. I realize that there's people there to help me. So, but I just think they do a great job. I'm impressed. And so far I have nothing negative to say about them caring about your family, your personal life. And yeah, it's a business, and I understand that, just like anywhere else you work, but it's not crack the whip type business. It's, take the time. Let's see what we can do to help you be a better productive person at work, because they're not going to drive you to a point where you're just so burnt out. And that's about it. Thanks.
So I can add on to this one here a little bit. So we do have some other BRGs, which is a business resource group within Cargill that they'll highlight different type of things. Like we have the Women's Network, we have a Young Professional Network, who are literally talking about, is it winter blues or are you having a mental health crisis right now? And that's one of those things that Cargill pays attention to, right? Like you are not just a person in the desk. If you are having problems, there is a 1-800 line that you can call 4 times a year for free. Like they provide support. The thing is that you have to do, sometimes you have to ask. Like I'm a single parent. My daughter transitioned to kindergarten recently. She's still not to the point where she appreciates latchkey. So, I had to have a conversation with my supervisor. Hey, can I leave at 3 o'clock, go pick her up, take her home, and then continue my day from there? The answer is yes. It's support, but sometimes you have to ask. Sometimes it's not possible, and I get that, and I have somebody else handle it the pickup for me. There is a lot of interest and support in that, but you need to know your boundaries and ask those questions, right? If you need assistance in the plant because of a injury or something, a mental health thing, talk to your supervisor because sometimes they're not going to know, right? And this is one of those things in the civilian sector, you're allowed to ask. Sometimes you weren't allowed to ask in the military, right? Like that was a boundary that you weren't supposed to cross. You're just supposed to be like, oh, here's some Motrin, carry on. It's a different world. We have HR support that you can go to them and ask those types of questions if your supervisor isn't providing support, right? So just wanted to throw that out there as well.
Thanks, Regina. I think all 3 of your perspectives are so valuable. And I know a lot of folks joining the military, when they join, right, they're looking for mission and culture. Those are 2 big things. And I feel like both of those are ingrained in Cargill, that common mission, vision, and then that culture that is there. And that's why folks are drawn to the company and stay at the company. So I love all those perspectives. We're coming up on the hour. So I want to provide the opportunity from the Cargill team are there any final words of wisdom for the group before we take a moment and close out the event?
Adam, you want to have the last words?
I think, a lot of folks have said it, but, really, really appreciate, I see 64 participants on my screen. So can't thank you enough for letting us talk to all of you about possible career paths moving forward. And I would highly, highly recommend reaching out to Sheila. Look us all up on LinkedIn. Again, it's a family. We're 150 some thousand employees, but it is a family. And I would highly recommend reaching out to Sheila and considering Cargill as you're transitioning out or looking for that next career step. So without further ado, thank you again. Can't stress it enough.
Awesome. Well, thank you all to the presenters. I greatly appreciate you taking the time today to meet with our folks and talk about the great company of Cargill. So thank you to the presenters. Thank you to the participants for joining us today. We did throw a poll up on the screen, so if you can take a minute before you log out, answer the poll questions, just a few of them, and for your next step. So look at the career website and see what's on there. Sheila had a great advice in the chat room. If you're wondering what they make at a certain plant, just Google it. What does Cargill make at this one and see if news articles pop up. That'll help as you're going through the process too, to know what plant makes what. So go on the career website, follow them on LinkedIn, Google what the sites are, and most importantly, talk to Sheila. If you are interested in Cargill, she's got the scheduler link. We can throw it into the chat again. Set time on her calendar. Be ready for that conversation. Don't be in your car, right? And be ready for that conversation to have with her. While you're doing all that, if you can also make sure you're following Heroes Make America on LinkedIn, connect with our team members, and then don't forget to join us next week. We've got a massive logistics company coming up next week. Join us on the 22nd of February, 3 o'clock. We're going to have Amazon come on and talk through their position. So everyone have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.